Imagine you have it all. A beautiful house, a wardrobe of the most gorgeous clothes, a loving and attractive husband, a baby coming your way, and bills forever taken care of. What would you choose to do all day?
I cut in my butter before going out to harvest my strawberries. These were perfectly ripe.
Would you make cheese from scratch?
Then I got started on making my cream cheese.
Dress up to wait for your husband to come home? Or work at Walmart for fun?
Goal professionally is probably to marry rich. I really don't want to work anymore.
In this day and age, working is almost taboo. Something that seems second class. Except when you're so wealthy to the point of boredom, there is a new appeal to labor. From domestic activities such as cooking and baking to cosplaying as Walmart cashiers. While many are enraged by some or all of these trends on TikTok, it is actually nothing new. The quote-unquote simple life with a romantic undertone of poverty has become almost an aesthetic, just like Marie Antoinette, the last queen of France before the French Revolution, who was known for her absurd, lavish lifestyle. Even she romanticized labor by building the little hamlet, which is a modest peasant village, where she sometimes went to this backyard farm to dress up like a peasant and would milk cows, tend gardens, and play pretend. Although the extent to which this is true is controversial amongst historians, there lacks no evidence of an appeal to domesticity and even poverty to the rich. From making cereal from scratch to living in luxury vans or an 1800 farm and hand milking cows when your dad is a billionaire who founded JetBlue Airlines. Before we begin the video, I want to make it clear that there is absolutely no hate toward the people who chose one lifestyle over another. If anything, from an artistic and filmmaking viewpoint, I enjoy watching a lot of the content we will be talking about, and look up to the men and women for their success at such an early age, whether in career or in family. So without further ado, let us talk about the rise of the tradwife culture. We'll talk about Nara Smith and Emily Mariko, both incredibly sweet and competent women I admire, who have been getting quite a bit of backlash lately, which scratches the surface of how the internet culture has completely distorted our view of money nowadays, and explore why do rich people like to pretend to be poor. The trophy wife to tradwife fantasy.
Here's all the food I made my husband for Super Bowl Sunday.
How to become a traditional wife. Number 1, embracing ultra-traditional gender roles into your marriage. The man, he is the provider, the main breadwinner. The woman, the wife, she does the cooking and the cleaning.
Some of us might be familiar with the trophy wife stereotype, usually with an image in our mind of an attractive young woman who is married to an older, successful man. The wife's beauty and youth signify the status of the husband she is married to. Think Naomi as the wife of Jordan Belfort in The Wolf of Wall Street, Daphne Sullivan as the stay-at-home wife of Cameron in season 2 of The White Lotus, Daisy, the wealthy, beautiful, and charming socialite married to Tom Buchanan, a wealthy and powerful man. Although these women have different personalities and types of beauty, when it comes to the dynamics with their husband, they swallow their pride and bow in front of the money and luxurious lifestyle their men will bring. From the Kardashians to the Real Housewives of wherever to the White Lotus, pop culture never ceases to be obsessed with women living the good life, but moreover, women living the good life handed to them. The fantasy of not having to lift a single finger or brain cell for an employer, yet having a credit card that never maxes out, if only until it becomes true for some people.
Welcome to a day in the life as a trad husband. I wake up bright and early to get ready for the day before my wife wakes up. My role as a husband is to look good for my wife. Wouldn't want her leaving me for a younger man at the office. And what kind of trad husband would I be if I didn't have dinner ready on the table the second she gets home from work? Gentlemen, let us remember that our role in marriage is not to be lesser than our wives, but to respect and submit to them, no matter what.
If you scroll on TikTok long enough, you might come across a very specific type of content, posted by women in flowery dresses from lavish country kitchens. Tradwife, shorthand for traditional wife, does not refer to your ordinary stay-at-home mom. She is perfect. Her home is spotless. Her makeup is on point. She makes nearly everything from scratch, usually in a perfect dress. For anyone who might be familiar with a 50s sitcom, she walked straight out of there. The movement emerged on social media around 6 years ago, gaining popularity on Reddit. One of the well-known TikTok tradwife figure is Essie Williams, a 26-year-old tradwife who lives with her husband in Virginia. You can find her feed of pictures and videos wearing A-line dresses with immaculately styled blonde hair while waiting for her husband to come home to her. The underlying premise of the tradwife is for women to take up quote-unquote traditional wife roles by staying at home while their husbands go out to work and bring back financial resources. Of course, everything is fine and lovely when the perfect love story continues until the end of their lives. Until you remember, the US divorce rate is in the 50% range. When little girls start dreaming only of cashing in their youth and beauty by how to get the most profitable marriage,
You're my last chance. My last chance.
that begins to be a little concerning. No wonder there's been a surge of angry comments on the tradwife trend, and even Forbes is saying that the quote-unquote tradwife movement is anti-feminist. But is it true for all the women who somewhat embody the tradwife lifestyle? Let us analyze the 2 case studies of Nara Smith and Emily Mariko.
Today is my husband and I's 4th wedding anniversary, so I decided to wake up super early and make some bagels and cream cheese from scratch.
If you've been on TikTok lately, you almost certainly have come across a stunning woman in a classy dress or cardigan making the most aesthetic and delicious home-cooked meals for her, her husband, and children from scratch. Yes, you heard it right. Every single thing from scratch. From the bread, to the cheese, to cereal, 2 kinds of them, to ice cream, to the Oreo in the ice cream, to the chicken. Just kidding, although I wouldn't be surprised if she started raising her own chicken. It is completely mesmerizing. I personally love watching her videos. There's something so soothing and calming about them. And damn, all the food looks amazing and everything's so clean and tidy and perfect. But sometimes being overly perfect is also a problem. Recently, Nara Smith has been getting a lot of backlash, critiquing her for creating unrealistic fantasies of domesticity and portraying a quote-unquote false idealized mom life, as she uses the luxury of time and leisure to make everything from scratch. Where are the children? What about the messes of raising a family?
And they are performing labor in these videos. It's always something that, strictly speaking, is unnecessary, and they are doing it the hardest way possible. It is for show. It is all a performance.
She is quote-unquote selling a false promise of marriage and promoting the idea of a comfortable and luxurious life by marrying well. I think most people are enraged by the privilege of choice when it comes to labor, such as cooking. When regular people cook, oftentimes not out of enjoyment, but because eating out all the time could be costly, the rich are taking it as a pastime. When regular people do not have the time to make things from scratch because of the time pressure from work and family responsibilities, the rich seems to have all the time in the world to even make their own olive oil and add that to their homemade cheese. When a burden to you is suddenly enjoyed by someone else just because they are privileged enough so they can, and if they ever get bored they can simply stop. That is why the internet is mad. It's as if you have to read a textbook 30 times to pass, and someone who will get 100 either way just flips a page in front of you for fun. It feels ironic and humiliating. I agree that the life of Nara Smith is not something that could be easily replicated by her audience. And as a viewer, I understood that from the beginning. This is a 22-year-old influencer model whose husband is Lucky Blue Smith, a high-profile model. Of course, her life will be vastly different from a fresh out of college 22-year-old who is just beginning to figure out rent and adulting. But I do think to a large extent, the woman is just sharing her love for her family and making food, not to flex wealth and the privileged choices that come with it. There are also many creators who are making food from scratch on TikTok but do not get attacked and labeled as anti-feminist because of that. Feminism is about respecting all paths, including being married, motherhood, God forbid, baking. Yes, I do see how her content romanticizes homemaking, but I also think a lot of people are using feminism as a cover for their jealousy and envy towards a beautiful, happy, successful woman in her 20s because of how unobtainable Nara's life really is. And that is exactly why she gained an audience that is curious. The point is not to compare yourself to her aesthetic life, her dreams, her accomplishments. That is her life. Unlike S.D. Williams, Nara never preached her lifestyle as a wife or model. She never created tutorials about being a trad wife. The woman also has a career as a model. She's allegedly been modeling since 14. And even if she didn't, being a mother or homemaker is just as respectable as a choice. It is up to the audience whether her life is aspirational or unrelatable. Another big lifestyle creator recently under a lot of scrutiny is Emily Mariko, the queen of salmon on TikTok, and also known for her aesthetic cooking videos, who just launched her merch, a $120 tote bag. A lot of the comments are saying how unreasonably priced the tote bags are. Quote, "Your bag is the cost of my eye exam." Quote, "This looks like a freebie gift bag with a purchase." Meanwhile, others started digging up her background and criticizing her for having graduated Columbia with a BA in neuroscience and behavior, worked in L'Oreal and Meta, but decided to do influencing and selling a picture-perfect version of domesticity because that makes more money, and that's how dystopic our society has become. First of all, I completely agree that Emily Mariko has a very impressive education and career background. But what I disagree on is the condemning undertone that one certain career path or life path should be seen as superior or inferior to another. If Emily didn't go to college or worked in big corporates, does that make her current career as an influencer more justified? What then constitutes an appropriate profession, and who is to determine that? More on this later. I do agree that the pricing is high for a tote bag, and if intended for the average household, it's a miscalculation of the market. But there is also a market for luxury tote bags, if that is what she's aiming to achieve. However, it is certainly true that for many celebrities to influencers, the sensitivity to money is getting more and more warped. Where Lambos are casually destroyed, million-dollar mansions are where people feel sad and lonely.
I love looking at houses. It's definitely a good distraction for like everything else that's going on in my life.
And Walmart is a fun place to play cosplay.
I don't know about you guys, but that video totally inspired me to show my love for Walmart. Just look at my smiling face.
New money. Quote, "People are becoming, just very fatigued by influencers, for sure, especially as they are struggling to buy the groceries to put in the tote bag." With the new wave of the attention economy, new money has been generated with influence, thus raising a new generation of millionaires, some of whom are still too young to understand the responsibilities that come with their new influence and wealth. When the D'Amelio sisters dressed up in cashier Walmart uniforms for a comedic TikTok video promoting their new popcorn brand, they never wondered if real people earning minimum wages wear that uniform, do it not for a good laugh, but to work 12-hour shifts 4 days a week to barely afford to live. Quote, "I wish I had enough money to cosplay as a retail worker. So fun being in the working class," said one comment. It is true that blowing up at such a young age, without a full grasp of their own identities and an overwhelming amount of wealth and hate, are extremely towing on the D'Amelio sisters.
Think back to some of the things that I said in interviews 3 years ago. Yeah, hate comments don't bother me. And I was like, you went home and cried all night because of it. I would say things to make people think one thing, but inside it was very sheltered.
And I have no doubt that the amount of psychological damage from being so exposed on the internet is unimaginable. But the echo chamber that the new money has created made so many celebrities and influencers like the D'Amelios out of touch and insensible. As if money is just numbers to be freely thrown around, jobs are a spur-of-a-moment type of fun activity, and poverty or bills are unfamiliar verbiage from another world. Don't get me wrong, as a creator and knowing many creators who hold their art and their community to the highest degree of care, this is not an easy job, but it is a very privileged career path when it comes to compensation and opportunities. The mental struggles such as the depression and unhappiness that the D'Amelios suffer in their million-dollar mansions are absolutely valid, but it does not excuse the tone-deaf attitudes toward working and labor.
I'm in the process of figuring out how to avoid a 9-to-5, specifically a 9-to-5 corporate desk job.
Romantic poverty. Tying everything with the whole trad wife drama, the glam of social media is making studying hard in school, working a 9-to-5 seem so futile. What is the point of trying so hard to make a living through a job just to struggle to pay rent or afford food when rich teenagers can cosplay to work whenever they want to, and beautiful girls have the time to make cereal from scratch because they are influencers? The picture-perfect lives of the rich, gorgeous influencers make the working class life mundane and suffocating, as if mocking the lack of choice people have because they are not them. On the other hand, the rich romanticizes poverty by painting a skewed picture of the working class hustling hard and overcoming their circumstances, not knowing that many poor people who work so hard every single day still remain poor. Yet there lacks no evidence that a quote-unquote poor life where one has to exert extra labor and effort is the new romantic lifestyle. However, living in a rich, modified van life is not the same as not being able to afford a home and being forced to be nomadic. Baking a loaf of rustic bread, hand-milking cows with your children at your ballerina farm in front of millions of followers is not the same as not being able to afford bread and forced to make everything from scratch. From Balenciaga's $1,500 dirty shoes to Rick Owens' $2,000 distressed jeans to Chanel's graffiti cloth handbag at almost $13,000. Having the poverty look is almost a new way of stating wealth, of knowing that you're so rich that it is fun to be poor and aesthetic. And this is the core to the extreme and dark side of the trad wife, trophy wife, new money issue. Domesticity is not an aesthetic. Labor is not an aesthetic. Poverty is not an aesthetic. And working a job is not superior or inferior to being a nepo, an influencer, a full-time wife. We all take different paths to fulfill our financial needs and to make life more meaningful. But the echo chamber of TikTok and social media is very monotone. There is such a big appeal to easy money. Money from a rich husband, money from blowing up and going viral, money from anything and anywhere other than working under a boss.
I really don't want to work anymore.
There's never been such a disdain for working because of all the rosy fantasies of the cushy lives of those who quote-unquote won life's lottery. I want to tie this back to my experience of working as a CPA, then marketer in tech while doing content. First, I do not regret working in finance or in tech while building my career as a creator. For me, I know my passion and heart lie in content and creativity, but coming straight out of college, being so fresh to society and the adulting world, I still had to face the reality that I had no money in the bank and no experiences or skills as a creator, but very thankfully, a job that would teach me skills and put a roof over my head. Ultimately, there are many things I appreciate in my 3 career paths in finance, in tech, and in content creation. Working for someone else is not inferior to working for yourself or not working at all because you have money handed to you. You are getting paid to build up your toolbox. So one day, if you do decide to work for someone else or yourself, you have assets and value to bring to the table. I think it is truly a gift to be able to add value to other people's lives, whether to society through your role in an organization or independently, and to people you love by making them a hearty meal. No one single way is superior to another, and each should be treated as respect instead of being overly romanticized and fantasized as an aesthetic. Both the beautiful trad wife trope and the rich pretending to work and live a restricting life for vibes. So no, there is nothing shameful about not having a beautiful mansion when you're 20, all the time to make a bread and hummus from scratch in a gown, or a getaway farm to pretend you're poor. Working a quote-unquote normal job to put a roof over your head is not shameful. It is respectable. Having the ability to take care of yourself and others is respectable. It is respectable to know that you earned every single solid brick of foundation towards the future you want to build. And it is comforting to know that your value is not capped by any individual other than yourself. So what are your thoughts with the trad wife trend and the rich's obsession with being poor? Comment that below and like this video to help the algorithm push it to more people who need to be aware of the dangers of both extremes. Subscribe for more video essays and see you next week.